So we'll begin at the beginning. Good evening. If you can hear us in Zoom land, this is a new adventure for us. Lori, you want to kill the music? My lovely assistant Lori is here with me tonight, and we got a couple people in the audience, but not so many that you couldn't maybe ask questions in Zoom land. Are they able to chat here tonight? So if you got questions, please serve them up and we'll try to answer them as best we can. We're going to try to keep this informal. There's a lot of information to cover. So let's jump into, well, who are these people that are talking? David Wiley, Lori Wiley. We're insurance brokers. That shouldn't stop you from listening to what we have to say because we're not here selling anything tonight. What we want to do is try to educate you, bring you up to speed. What is Medicare? What does it cover? What does it not cover? And what are your options for additional coverage? In this world, what you'd find is, I would suggest you'd like to talk to a broker, somebody who represents the entire market. What we'll see here tonight is capitalism works when it's kept on the rails, and there's an awful lot of companies that want your business. Your job is to find the best value. Our job is to help you find that best value, and we don't charge you for our services. What we try to do is to hook you up with the right insurance company and keep you for years to come. You might feel a lot like this guy when you first come to Medicare. There's a lot of decisions to be made that you've never had to make before. Your employer has come to you once a year and said, here it is, take it or leave it. And everything that went into that policy, deductibles, coinsurance, co-payments, network, drug program, all of that, they decided it for you and they brought you a one-size-fits-most insurance program. Now you get to make those decisions, and that can be terrifying. If you're turning 65, you'll get so much mail that you don't even realize that your mailbox is filling up almost every day with propaganda from the insurance companies. And that's what it is. It's advertising. What you want to try to do is work your way through this and understand that your friends and family, they mean you well, but your friends and family don't really know what the world of Medicare is all about. So I would discourage you from doing what your brother-in-law did. He might have done exactly the right thing for him, but it might not be the right thing for you. And you want to educate yourself. And that's what we're all about, is bringing you up to speed on what Medicare is, what it covers, and what it doesn't cover. One of the books that you want to get your hands on is called Medicare and You. The Zoomers can see it. Medicare and You comes out every year. It's the Bible of our industry. It's the encyclopedia of Medicare. It gives you the details on every aspect of Medicare. The tough part is it's a very dry read. We always joke it does two things incredibly well. It's chock full of knowledge and it's a tremendous sleeping aid. But in that world, that encyclopedia is also backed up by perhaps the easiest website that you could ever visit, Medicare.gov, G-O-V. Please note that gov means that you're dealing with the federal government. Com, C-O-M, means you're dealing with an insurance agency that's going to try to capture your information and sell you a lot of stuff by capturing your information and calling you incessantly. You've got the Medicare and You book. You've got the Medicare.gov website, which is fabulous. You've got the easiest phone number in the world, which is 1-800-Medicare, 1-800-Medicare. You'll start to see a world of service in this world that is tremendous. The people at 1-800-Medicare, they're there 24 hours a day, waiting to take your call and answer your questions. And they're very, very good. You can always tell good customer service when you get their first name and their last name. The key to Medicare is going to be this new world that you're entering in, and it's different, and it's a bit intimidating because there's a lot of information there. One of the first things that's going to happen is that you're going to notice that you're no longer treated as a couple if you're a married couple. Now they're going to break you apart, and they're going to have everything done individually in this world of Medicare. Why do they do that? So we can customize a program for you and customize a program for you. And the drug programs that you need may be totally different than the drug programs your husband needs. So the beauty of being able to customize is one of the great parts of Medicare. In this world, that's the website, Medicare.gov. Can we go? That's the book, Medicare and You. Keep going, baby. We're rocking now. Okay, so let's start with what is Medicare. Basically, Medicare is the insurance program from the federal government. It's different than Social Security. These are two different benefits. Medicare is the medical benefit for people over 65. Social Security is where they give you back less than you ever gave them. So in that world, you could have one without the other. And that's usually a point of confusion. People are worried, if I haven't started my Social Security, can I get my Medicare? Yes, you can. If I start my Medicare, do I have to start my Social Security? No, you don't. You can wait for the Social Security. But in this world, and that's where I was jogging on the beach. I don't know if you saw that. But in this world, what you want to know is Medicare is an excellent program. It was just never designed to pick up 100% of your costs. You were always expected to have deductibles and co-insurance and co-payments, things of that nature. So in this world, in addition to Medicare, you're going to find out that there's probably more coverage that you're going to want to get. Slide, please. This is where your journey begins. This is your Medicare card. Medicare consists of two components, Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. This is where people can frequently make the first of possibly many mistakes when they come to the world of Medicare, where their friends and family are insisting that they have to activate their Medicare when they turn 65, or there could be penalties and lockout periods. If you could kill your phones, I'd appreciate it. In this world, what you'll find is that A has no premium, but B does have a premium. They cover us for different stuff. But what a lot of people will do is they'll continue to work past the age of 65. And if they do, and there's more than 20 people that work there, the terminology for that, that's called creditable coverage. And that allows you to delay activating Medicare. Well, why would you delay activating Medicare? Because that Part B premium could be unnecessary as long as you're getting your coverage through work and it's good coverage. You like working there, you like the benefits. But that Part B premium and activating Medicare when you've got creditable coverage, you're double covering yourself. You're paying more than you probably should pay. And you want to be very careful when you approach this world. A typically can't hurt you because A has no premium. It has a certain set of benefits, which we'll cover here in a second. It's all of your facilities. And these facilities, A, no premium, that could work with your current insurance through work and they would coordinate and that could provide benefits. And when was the last time you ever got anything from the government for zero with that Part A? But the Part B premium, that's directly related to services. And you wouldn't need to activate that if you continued to work where there were more than 20 people that worked there. And that was called creditable coverage. And I've seen people make this mistake frequently. They activate A and B because their friends and family told them to do such a thing. They continue to work. The one that really grabbed my attention last fall, we had a gentleman who decided finally he was going to stop working. And we talked about Medicare. We agreed what we wanted to do. We showed him all the programs. And then when we went to sign him up, he pulled out his Medicare card and he had activated his Medicare when he turned 65, continued to work for another 17 years. And he was paying premiums on that Part B for 17 years for something he didn't need to be paying premiums for. So watch yourself. As you come to Medicare, your friends and family love you and they're going to try to tell you what to do, but they don't always understand the ramifications. There's an important period of time that surrounds your birth month. 3 months before your birth month, and 3 months after, you can go get this Medicare A and B stuff, or you can hold off if you've got creditable coverage. But in that world, we'd love to see you be ahead of the curve. Sign up 90 days or less before your birth month. You have the ability to activate your Medicare the first day of the month in which you turn 65. Medicare always starts as of the first of any given month. You missed it and you wait and you sign up in your birth month. That's okay. We can go effective the first of the next month. But if you wait and you miss it and you're out here in these later time frames, there can be time delays. They'll delay activating you. So it's always good to be ahead of the curve in this world and not behind this curve. Next slide. We said A has no premium. I always get a kick out of agents when they tell you it's free. It's not free. You paid a boatload in taxes. They just don't charge you more when you come to the party. But this B does have a premium. This year, the base premium is $148.50 per person. Remember, this is individually, $148.50 per person per month. Now, that $148.50 is graded for income. The government wants to get as much money as possible to fund this project that they call Medicare. And the way they do that is they look to the more successful, the more affluent. And we know this from a young age. The more you make, the more they take. And here we see it quite clearly. If you can see this, if you, as a married couple, make more than $176,000, they're going to start charging you more for the Part B, and they also charge you more for the Part D, the drug program as well. But understand how this works. This is called IRMA, your income-related monthly adjustment amount. It's based upon MAGGI. We love our acronyms, and we want to make this as innocent as possible, so we name it after your favorite aunt. But your modified adjusted gross income. But the government is always a step slow. They're looking at your tax returns, but their computers only show them what happened in the past. In 2021, they can only see your 2020 returns. Your 2020 returns actually report what you made in 2019. So understand the things that you're doing now, 401k withdrawals, sales of stock, these could have ramifications, a sonic boom effect as you move into the world of Medicare. We'd love to think that you were managing your income in such a way that you don't pay more for your Medicare. And there is an appeal process. If you are making more than this kind of money, but now you've retired, maybe you killed it in 2019, you did great in 2020, but now it's 2021 and you're going to be retiring. Well, we would expect that to lower your income. That's referred to as a life-changing event. A life-changing event is appealable, and we have the ability to appeal to the government and drive these numbers down based upon the reality of today, not what was going on 2 years ago. Don't want to give my government one more nickel than they already take. They also bump you on the Part D for your drug program. Why do they do that? Because this Medicare thing is very expensive, and they're looking to generate dollars to fund it. Go. There's 4 different parts to Medicare. We'll talk about them all here tonight. And if we were truly teaching a college course, we'd spend an hour on each of them, but that's not what we're going to do. But you want to understand that the government brings you A and B. A and B will form the foundation of our coverage as we move forward. That's the base that we're dealing with. But once we see here shortly that A and B is really good, but not complete, we're going to look to add additional coverage. That additional coverage could certainly have you taking a drug program, and that'd be smart. We'll talk about that in a second. Or you may look at one of these Advantage programs. That's what Joe Namath is hawking on TV, these all-in-one packages. Very alluring, but not necessarily all it glitters is not necessarily gold. But we want to talk about all that here tonight. Go. And what we'd start with, if you were here, there's a handout, and you can get to it at our website if you wanted to get this. But this is what we call the roadmap to Medicare. And it's very basic and very simple on purpose. Most of the presentations I've ever seen obfuscate. They throw all sorts of stuff at you, graphics and colors. No, let's just take it real basic and understand Medicare starts with you getting Part A and Part B. Oh, look at that. Part A and Part B that would form the foundation. We have to have that to do anything. Most people will take it when they turn 65, but other people will work and hold off activating. But we got to have A and B to do anything else. We're going to see here in a second, A and B is really good, but A and B is not complete. And as a result, we may look to pick up additional coverage. That coverage can take 2 different pathways. One pathway is called Original Medicare. And that's where we have Medicare standing in primary position. We pick up a drug program, we pick up a supplement, and those 3 pieces acting in concert form your coverage. The other possibility is to look at one of these things called Medicare Advantage. That's a different idea. The government is no longer primary. Now they are paying a private insurance company, and the private insurance company steps in and runs the show. One card, very convenient, everything run by one company. And both of these pathways have their positives. Both of these pathways have their negatives. But in this world, what you want to understand is we got to start with the beginning, and that's what is Medicare A and B. What are you getting for your $148.50? Well, Medicare Part A. Simply put, if there was one word, Medicare Part A would be all of your facilities, all of the buildings that you're going to come into contact with in the world of healthcare. Well, certainly no building could be more important than the hospital. From the hospital, you might discharge into rehab, also known as skilled nursing. You might go home, and under A, there's a wonderful home health benefit. And the last part of A would be hospice. And whether that was in a freestanding hospice facility or in the privacy of your own home, hospice comes up under Medicare Part A. A has no premium, but it has exposure. Medicare was never designed to cover 100%. So in a world where Medicare has exposure, Part A says your participation is that there is a copayment for your hospitalization. That copayment this year for one night in the hospital is $1,484. Megan, you could go forward a couple of screens on that because we want to get to this, what Part A is. In the world where Medicare Part A has a copayment, understand that copayment, $1,484 for one night, that's kind of steep, but the $1,484 actually doesn't cover you just one night. It covers you for up to 60 nights in the hospital, and upon discharge covers you for 60 days. But be sure to understand that every 61 days, that's going to roll over and could reset on you. So you could hit that several times in a year. From the hospital, you might go into a skilled nursing facility. That's a rehab or step down. Locally, that's Marion Joy is a good example of a rehab hospital. But in that rehab, Medicare likes that. They don't have an MRI machine on every floor. They don't have an emergency room downstairs losing money hand over fist. Medicare says, we'll cover you for up to 100 days. That's a beautiful benefit, but understand how that structures. The first 20 days, Medicare would pick that up completely. But 80 days, this year, the copayment is $185.50 per night for those additional nights. And please note, Medicare does not pay for long-term care. They don't pay for assisted living. That's a different kind of insurance. That's long-term care insurance. That's a discussion for another night. But in this world, understand that skilled nursing benefit has a qualification. You need to spend 3 nights in the hospital to get this benefit. So let's be clear, no surprises. We want to make sure that we've spent 3 nights in the hospital to get that benefit. There's a home health service, wonderful. We'll send somebody right to your door to help you get back on your feet. But by definition, that's major stuff on a short-term basis. It's maybe wound dressing after a major medical event or a handful of physical therapy visits. But their job is to make sure that you're getting out the door to see the doctors where it's less expensive. They're not going to mow the lawn. They're not going to do the dishes. That's long-term care insurance. And the last part of A is hospice. And we put down 5%, but that's really unfair. Medicare basically covers almost everything, but there can be a very small copayment for the medications you take to remain comfortable before you pass away. Here's A, no premium, but clearly stuff you're going to be reaching into your pocket and paying for if all you have is original Medicare. Let's look at B. B does have a premium. The base premium is $148.50 per month per person based on income. The reason we charge a premium here is because this is the lion's share of what we're going to run into. B is all of your services. A is facilities, B is services. So all of the doctors that you see and all of the specialists that you see, whether you saw them in the hospital or saw them in their office, they're billing up under B. There was an anesthesiologist that knocked you out one time so a surgeon could operate on you. But wait a second, that happened in the hospital, right? Yeah, but that's a facility charge. That's not the people who worked on you. That's the building. This is the labor charges. All of your lab work, everything from a blood test to a biopsy, all of your diagnostic testing, we call that your expensive alphabet soup, EKG, EEG, MRI, CAT scan, X-ray. Get out of the hospital, maybe you need a walker or a wheelchair, or maybe in the hospital, you got a brand new knee or a pacemaker. These would all be examples of durable medical equipment. DME builds up under Part B. Your physical therapy, the ambulance, the emergency room, all of that stuff. All of your outpatient services, and that'd be anything that was medical that didn't have you spending the night in the hospital. That could be a cataract, it could be a colonoscopy, it could even be a knee replacement these days. They're doing full knee replacements on an outpatient basis. It's terrifying. And the last part of B, very important, clinical RX. Clinical RX, these are medications delivered in an outpatient setting or a doctor's office or even in the hospital. And this is usually the scary stuff. You've got chemotherapy, you've got kidney dialysis, you've got radiation treatment. The real expensive stuff is going to bill up under Part B. Different than the meds that we get for high cholesterol or blood pressure at Walgreens. Those are going to be falling up under a Medicare Part D as in drug program. A and B structure differently. A has a pay-as-you-go mentality. Do this, pay that, do this, pay that, do this, pay that. B, on the other hand, has an overall annual deductible. Once you've met the deductible, then there's cost sharing. And what that looks like is this, which is absolutely crazy. The annual deductible, excuse me, the annual deductible is $203. If you can wrap your mind around that, you're better than me. I'm on the Affordable Care Act. I pay $1,000 a month to carry a $7,000 deductible. This 203 will be met clearly with your first doctor visit. I don't think you could find a blood panel that retails for under $200, but the first 203 is on you. After that, Medicare shows up and says, cool, we'll split bills with you 80-20. They'll pick up 80 cents on the dollar, holding you responsible for 20 cents on the dollar. And that is phenomenal coverage, wonderful, amazing coverage, but it's even better than that because before Medicare does this 80-20 thing, call it that little dash right there, Medicare starts taking their negotiated discount. And if you haven't seen it, worked with maybe your parents or a loved one, you can't imagine the discount that Medicare takes in this world. It's not unusual. The cardiologist says, I'm brilliant. I charge $350. Medicare says, you're adorable. We pay $80. You'd be responsible for 20% of the $80, which is amazing. A cardiologist visit's going to run you $16. Yeah, in the world of Medicare, it sure could. It's amazing coverage, but for $148.50, it's amazing. It's an unlimited benefit. If you need 5 knee replacements, they'll pay for 5 knee replacements. But keep in mind, on every one of those knee replacements, every 61 days, that 1484 resets. Spend longer in the skilled nursing facility, it's $185.50. The hospice I wouldn't worry about, but the Part B deductible is laughable. But the key to the unlimited benefit is unlimited exposure with Original Medicare. There's no stopping it. So you've got 20% on absolutely everything that we do. Yeah. And that can be a scary number. That's why people will look to pick up additional coverage. You may look at this coverage for $148.50 and say, this is amazing. How do they do it for $148.50? They don't. They're dropping north of $850 a month on each of us. They're asking you for a participation minimally of $148.50, more if you make more. And that chart, if you didn't study it, it steps up pretty fast. You can pay a lot for this stuff if you've been successful. That's where they want to get the money to run the show. But in a world where you're paying $148.50 for pretty amazing coverage, the key is the unlimited exposure that you have with Original Medicare. And that's why, as good as it is, it's not complete. And you would want to be looking at additional coverage to make it complete, to make it whole, to make it to where you could sleep at night. So in addition to Original Medicare, we've got 2 pathways to choose from. One pathway called Original Medicare, one pathway called Medicare Advantage or Medicare Part C. Let's take a look at this first pathway called Original Medicare, where we're going to put 3 pieces together to cover you. You're going to need a drug program, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what do we do about that 20%? What do we do about that hospitalization copayment? That looks pretty scary. We'd look to pick up a Medicare Supplement, a package of benefits brought to us by private insurance companies that is going to step in and could pick up some or even all of that exposure that we talked about. But the beauty of the system is the new sheriff in town tells the insurance companies how they can sell these products. It's not up to the insurance company. The new sheriff in town is Medicare, and they're the ones that are going to determine how these products are sold. And Medicare says to these companies, here's your field of play. This is where you have a series of package of benefits where you have the ability to choose how exotic and how lavish you want your coverage to be. Medicare sets the base benefits. We just went through that. But then Medicare allows 10 different packages of benefits to come to market. They can be the penthouse or the pup tent, just depends on what your needs are, what you want. But of the 10, truly, there's 3 that drive the conversation. Megan, there's 3 that drive the conversation. Those would be the F, the G, and the N. Different packages of benefits that would show us the difference between having everything covered or maybe participating a little bit on your situation. This F has been legendary for years. F was the package of benefits that literally wiped out everything we just talked about. You'd have no deductible, no co-insurance, no co-payments. Lavish, extensive, but extensive rhyming with expensive. We know how insurance companies work. The more you want them to do, they're happy to do it. But the more they do, the more they charge. And it didn't take long for anybody who investigated this to see that F was very expensive for what it did. And you would analyze, if you were working with a broker, well, what's the difference between F and G? Well, from a coverage standpoint, it's pretty negligible. G is a package of benefits that says, ooh, wait a second, there's something there you're going to pay for. That empty box is your Part B as in boy deductible. That deductible is $203. That $203 would be your total out-of-pocket exposure on the G supplement. So the difference in coverage is that you've got a $203 deductible. But what's the difference in premiums? On this field of play, we have currently we've got 38 companies that want your business, 38 that are chasing your business, and all 38 are managed by Medicare. Medicare says what these packages represent, not the insurance companies. But of those 38 companies, you'd see that F in general is about $50 more per month than the G. Well, and the difference again? Well, the F is paying that Part B deductible. Here in the G, you pay for it. But if you look at it annually, and you always want to look at these things annually over a 12-month period, you're telling me that with F, I pay $600 more per year. And what am I getting for my $600? F is paying the $203 deductible. That's not a good deal. I don't want to pay $600 for a $200 benefit. And true to form, I would tell you, we've said for years, F is for foolish. It's overpriced. G is a much better value because you're digging a little bit deeper into your pocket. And just like your automobile insurance or your homeowners, you're finding that a deductible can lower premiums. That's a good intersection of value. Understand this field of play. Medicare says what these packages are, not the insurance companies. Wait a second. You're telling me that G from Blue Cross Blue Shield is similar to G from Mutual of Omaha? No, it's not similar. It's identical. Medicare says what G is, not the insurance companies. Well, wait a second. I know my doctor takes Blue Cross Blue Shield. Does my doctor even take Mutual of Omaha? No. Wait a second. Your coverage now is Medicare. Medicare is primary. Medicare is your insurance. All the supplements are doing is backing that up. In that world, what you want to know is that by making this field of play so competitive and so identical in what it covers, you have the ability to shop the marketplace. And you would see here, we've got 38 companies that want your business. Many of them you haven't heard of before. Generally speaking, what Lori and I will do, we'll focus our attention on the big players, the ones that really have dominated the market and proven over the course of time that they're reliable, that they're going to be there in 20 years to pay claims. Some of the companies have very marginal financial ratings. We'd like to show you those ratings. We'd like to show you their history of rate increases. We'd like to show you why some companies can be superior to other companies. F for foolish, overpriced. G, a better value because you accept a deductible. N, growing in popularity. N mirrors what a lot of people have coming off their group health insurance. N says, not only will you pay a deductible, but you'll also agree to doctor co-payments after that deductible. The MRI, the CAT scan, the X-ray, the physical therapy, the 3 weeks in the hospital, that's all covered under the N, but you do have doctor co-payments and an emergency room co-payment. And you see that down here at the bottom of the page. To see a primary would be up to $20. To see a specialist would be up to $20. To go to the emergency room would be $50. On my Affordable Care Act plan, my emergency room copayment is $1,000. $50 looks pretty good to me. And in a world where you're agreeing to dig a little deeper into your pocket, what you want to understand is that's going to drive your premiums down. And what we want to look at here is a rational assessment of your needs. I worked with a woman earlier today. She goes to the doctor several times a month. She doesn't want the N. The copayments would chew her up. But if your health is reasonably good, and most baby boomers at 55, like 65 are better shape than their parents were at 55, you'd find that that intersection of paying doctor co-payments could be very tolerable. Again, generally speaking, that N is going to be about $25 a month less than the G. So you're saving $300 a year in premiums. Yeah, but wait a second, I got co-payments to think about. True. But with $300 in savings, you've got to understand you'd need to be going to the doctor more than 15 times a year for N to have been a bad choice. So it could be worth looking at. Dig deeper into your pocket. Understand that F has no deductible, G has a deductible, N has a deductible and copayments. You may go the full regalia. And down here, you could see that that G comes in two flavors. That little asterisk right there, that's not a smudge on the lens. G standard says pay $203, we'll cover everything after that. But G comes in what they call a high deductible version. High deductible G says that you would be willing to accept an out-of-pocket maximum of $2,370. Now that's named high deductible G, and I think they misname it on purpose. What you find is that it's not really a deductible, it's an out-of-pocket maximum. And if you don't understand insurance terminology, I don't blame you. But a deductible is something that you pay everything up to the deductible. Whereas an out-of-pocket maximum is you are paying towards that out-of-pocket maximum with services. Let's go back. The cardiologist says, I charge $350. Medicare says you're adorable. We pay $80. You're responsible for 20% of the $80. That $16 goes towards your $2370. Your $203 annual deductible goes towards the $2370. If you spend a night in the hospital, $1,484 goes towards the $2370. But $2370 is a firewall. It's a worst case scenario for doctors, hospitals, facilities, and services. And for a lot of baby boomers, I've been carrying a $7,000 deductible for years. 2340 looks pretty good to me. And that's going to bring your premiums down at the age of 65. Ballpark numbers. If you could get the F, it'd be about 175. The G could be less than 125. That N should be less than 100. That high deductible G is going to be somewhere in the $40 to $50 range. It's a very interesting concept. More exposure driving down premiums. But this is the fun part of the business, is we get to sit with you and figure out exactly what makes sense for your situation. Couldn't have a better sleeping pill than that G. You know you're getting good value. You know that woman I worked with today, once she spends 203, everything else is covered, not a worry in the world other than getting better. That N makes a lot of sense. Co-payments, I'm a big fan of higher deductible plans. I like the high deductible. But in a world where the agent has a vested interest in selling you the most expensive things because it pays the highest commission, and that's how we get paid by the insurance companies. You never give us a dollar, but we work with you. And if you're disingenuous, you're always pushing up towards this end of the spectrum because you want to sell the most expensive thing and make the highest commissions. Sorry, but it's true. We've always been big champions of being down here. We like a little bit more personal responsibility, driving your premiums down. But again, it depends on what you want it to be. But the key here is to be able to shop and look at all 38 companies that offer all 10 programs and find the best value for your situation. A and B good, but A and B not complete. We'd look to pick up a Medicare supplement. We still need a drug program. And the beauty of the system, once again, is that Medicare is going to determine this field of play. Medicare is going to have a master formulary of the drugs that they allow to come to market. They may not cover certain meds. They didn't cover Viagra for the longest time. But in this world, Medicare sets the formulary, the field of play. And then we currently have 29 drug programs that want your business. And people freak out, why 29? No, 32 would be better. 40 is better still, because they all have to choose from this formulary that Medicare allows to come to market, and they have to decide where to compete. Some go after mail order, some go after generics, some go after brand name drugs. Some can do a mixture. But we open in this drug world. Our least expensive drug program this year is $7.30. Our most expensive drug program is $147. Well, as you might imagine, the $7 drug program is really good for generics. The $147 drug program is good for terrible situations. But somewhere in the middle, we'll find out what the best program is for you. And we do that by going to Medicare.gov. We're able to enter in your meds. And the intersection of value here is going to be found based upon what you're taking and where you'd be willing to go get it. People will say, well, I only want to go to Walgreens. Well, if you only want to go to Walgreens, we're not going to look at all 29 drug programs. We're going to look at the 8 that feature Walgreens as a strategic partner. But would you walk across the street to Osco to save $700 a year? Yeah, you might. And you might be willing to look at that. And that's, again, why you want to work with a broker, somebody that can show you the full field of play. Love Blue Cross Blue Shield. You call Blue Cross Blue Shield, they'll send you an agent, but that guy's only going to show you the stuff that one company offers. You don't want to do that. You want to look at the full field of play and find the best value in that situation. But these drug programs, they've got to play by Medicare rules. All of them are going to have a late enrollment penalty. A gentleman earlier asked, why would I take a drug program? Because if you don't take a drug program, you don't have to. The government doesn't force you to. But if you don't take a drug program, there's a penalty that continues to tick away every month. It's negligible. This year, I want to say it's 38 cents per month. But eventually, you're going to be driven to get a drug program because you need expensive medications. In that world, that late enrollment penalty isn't a one-time deal. When you finally decide to get a drug program, they're going to add all those months together, and all those 38 cents go on your premium every month for the rest of your life. So one, we don't like paying a penalty, but two, we also don't like the idea of getting halfway through the year and finding out that you didn't take a drug program and now you need a really expensive medication. So the insurance guy is always going to say better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And this is a classic example. And I could understand people years ago when they didn't take the drug program, because the drug programs were, well, when they first started, they were all over $40 a month. And I'm not taking anything. And anything I'm ever going to take is going to be a generic. And it's $40 a month. That's a joke. But through the years, competition has driven these prices down. I guess it was 3 years ago, we broke under $20 a month. 2 years ago, we broke under $15 a month. It's kind of silly to pass on a drug program when it's only $15 a month. And this last year, we came to now there's a drug program at $7.30 a month. It is pure foolishness to not get a drug program. And I still wrestle with people every day of the week. Maybe I'll pass. Dude, it's $7.30, and your exposure is scary if you don't have it. In that world, even if you didn't take a drug program, or even if you've got a drug program that you don't like, every year we get a do-over drug programs called the annual election period. That's right around the corner, October 15th to December 7th. It's Wild West. Everybody's checking, if they're smart, they're checking their drug programs. Some people are under the misconception that they can change their supplement during this time frame without any medical questions. That's not true. On the supplements, you get an initial enrollment where everything's on the table, but that wears off. You don't get a do-over every year on the supplementals. You can change those every month of the year as long as you can pass through medical underwriting. All of the drug programs will have different formularies. That means some are good for generics, some are good for brands. And all of them are going to have this 3 stages of coverage. And that is where we see something called the coverage gap or the donut hole. We'll talk about that. In a world where there's stages of coverage in the world of drug programs, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, you need to know the basics. Every company is going to treat your drugs differently. One company may have your drug as a very inexpensive generic. A different company may treat it as a more expensive generic, but they can determine the formulary based upon what Medicare offers. They've got to figure out what to offer and how to make it work. But every time you're getting a drug, the company, the government, is not tracking what you paid for the drug. They're tracking the retail value of the drug. Well, in a world where generics are super cheap and your co-payments are super cheap, that's not a problem. But when you start getting into the stuff that's advertised on TV, not only does the co-payment go up, but believe me, the cost of the retail value of the drug. I mean, Eliquis is the one I love to beat up on. It's a great blood thinner. You may pay as little as $20 for it on the drug program, depending on the program, but that's a drug that's worth over $500. They're tracking the $500. They're not tracking your $20. And if the co-payments that you're making on your meds were to exceed $4,130 this year, that's what's going to move you from this initial stage of coverage where life is pretty good. You're paying a premium and you're getting your drugs for a really nice co-payment. But if the retail value exceeds $4,130, that's what moves you into this thing called the coverage gap or the donut hole. And that's where things get more expensive. You're still covered. You're not getting hammered like you used to in the old days, but now you're responsible for 25% of the retail value of the drug. So you could be paying $20 for your Eliquis, but the Eliquis is worth $500. Well, that means in about 8 months, you're going to receive, in 8 months, you paid $160 to get 8 months of Eliquis, but you rang up $4,000 at retail. When you fall into the coverage gap on the next Eliquis, you're not paying $20 for it anymore. Now you're paying 25% of $500. That's $125. We need to see this thing coming 8 lanes wide because we don't like to be surprised when people fall into the coverage gap. That seems to happen quite frequently. We get a lot of phone calls this time of year where people will say, I've been going to Walgreens, I've been getting my meds every month. It's been $80. And all of a sudden now they want $450 for my meds. What's going on? Well, I don't know, but it sounds to me like you've fallen into the coverage gap. And they'll say, but I can't have fallen into the coverage gap. I've only received $800 worth of drugs. No, sir, it's not what you've paid. It's the value of the drugs. So we like to look at these drug programs every year during this annual election period. We do that for our clients to make sure that they're in the best possible drug program for the next year. Maybe, just maybe, your meds have changed. Or maybe capitalism has driven down prices. Or maybe something's gone generic. It seems like we get good news every year about a drug program and a generic drug that's really benefiting people. We want to be aware of the coverage gap. You can get out of the gap, but it's a small fortune to get out of the gap. And generally, most people don't even fall in the coverage gap, but if they do, they don't come out until they've spent a total of $65.50. And even then, that usually happens in November or December, and the whole thing resets again January 1. So we want to be aware of that. You've got 29 different drug programs, each of which having 29 different formularies, each having 29 different premiums, each having 29 different calculations. You could go completely nuts, but no, let's go to Medicare.gov. Let's go here where it says compare health and drug programs. We have the ability to plug in your meds and different retailers, because understand, every one of those drug programs has a different strategic alliance where they've partnered with different retailers. Used to be that mail order was always your best option. Not so much anymore. Mail order has been dominated now by the retailers, because the retailers have figured out this is a hell of a way to get people to come into the store. They'll undercut mail order. They'll sell meds at no markup whatsoever if they can just get you in the store, because somebody like Mariano's, they know that you can't go in. And when they tell you it's going to be 10, 15 minutes, you don't just stand there waiting. You go shop and you buy stuff. So mail order is no longer the shining star it once was, but you've got to know who your preferred pharmacy is, not just simply an in-network pharmacy. More importantly, get the language right. There can be a standard pharmacy that will take your money with a smile, but you're not getting as good a value as you would get with your preferred pharmacy. And let's see here, do we show that somewhere top? Up, here's a preferred pharmacy call out. This particular program is $25 a month. It's got an annual deductible of $445, but you don't pay that deductible. Sure. Okay. It was going so well. You guys are too quiet. You got to ask questions. Welcome.
Thank you. I thought it was in a different language.
Sorry for the miscommunication. We need to get one of those. Remember the Indian head that they used to show at 3 in the morning on Channel 2? Yeah. And then we'll play the da 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 da.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
So what if you select a drug program and then mid-year my medications change to much more expensive drugs? Am I stuck till the end of the year?
Well, you've got a drug program, whatever that drug program was. That's better than not having a drug program. Mm-hmm. That drug program will either have that medication on their formulary, in which case life is pretty good. It's still expensive. These are miracles that we're dealing with, these drugs. It's right. Just that miracles don't come cheaply. But if it's on the formulary, you're going to get it through the drug program. Even if it's not on the formulary, we can file for an exception. And generally speaking, the drug people will allow you to get that med. Admittedly, it'll be a tier 4 price. It'll be expensive. But your question of can you change midstream? No, you got to wait for that annual election period from October 15th to December 7th. But every year you get a do-over with that.
Okay.
So that will help you. The only other aspect to that would be if you qualified for what's called low income subsidy, there could be help for you there. There's always programs for people who don't have a lot of money, but generally speaking, that low income subsidy, you've got to be making under $16,000 a year. It's a pretty low bar that they've set to be able to get that additional benefit.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know the computer could talk. Is anybody else out there? Can the computer talk?
I thought I'd take a chance.
Should I do sock puppets? Well, if you guys can hear me, then I'll keep talking so we don't keep everybody around here forever. But we were throwing up on the screen here an example of the report that Medicare would provide for us. And the beauty of this system, and I can't say it enough, there's robust competition. That's great. You've got the sheriff in town, Medicare running the show. That's great. And you've got complete transparency. We can see what everybody's doing. Your drugs change. Well, certainly we're going to want to take a look at your drug program during that open enrollment window, just to make sure you're in the best possible program for the next year. The beauty of the drug programs is you're guaranteed the right to change them every single year. And here, the folks in the room can see there's that darn Eliquis that we were talking about. Well, you got to pay $496 until you pay off your deductible. Well, that happens pretty darn quick. But then you're in the initial stage of coverage. And look at that. You're only paying $30 for Eliquis. That's a deal. But they're not tracking the $30. They're tracking that $496.17. It's the retail value of your drugs that's driving you towards the coverage gap. Well, this guy's ringing up $572 per month. That means in 8 months, he's going to fall into the coverage gap. And when he does, in the gap, there it is. 25% of $500 is basically $125. In that world, you also want to be aware of the tools that we have to limit our exposure in this world of drug programs. When the doctor prescribes you something new, we always want to ask, are there any alternatives? If I lost 10 pounds, do I have to keep taking it? Does it come in a generic? Do you have any samples? All of those angles. But then the other tool that you want to use, are you guys hip to goodrx.com? It's just a tool in our tool chest. There's many variations of GoodRx. I'm not shilling for them, but I'm saying there's the ability to research what would you pay for the drug if you just went and had a prescription and cash. And we saw this notably with Cialis and Viagra, just went generic. Medicare is notoriously slow at picking up generic drugs and including them in the formulary. And you were still paying an awful lot for Cialis and Viagra unless you had the wherewithal to look at GoodRx, and you'd see where that with a coupon was about $11, where running it through your drug program was damn near $100. Look at all of your options and research your options. Here we see a good example, this Ventolin. That's what they call a rescue inhaler. A lot of people use them. The inhalers have recently really started to go generic. And this is a good example where the Ventolin on the drug program, they want to charge you $58 until you hit the deductible, and then you pay $30 for it. But at GoodRx, you can get that same med for about $12. And I don't want you chasing all over town. I just want you to know that you've got options for coverage and you've got options for where you spend your money. And we're always looking for the best possible value. GoodRx is a good tool to use. Remember, you always want to use your preferred pharmacy. You don't want to just go to a network pharmacy. You want to use your preferred pharmacy. And there you silence. Crickets. Come on, computer, talk to me. Can people in the great land of Zoom see these slides? Right now it would say Medicare
Yes.
Part D. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So can you advance that? Perfect. So keep advancing. And if all they see is that, so now we're 2 slides up. There's A, there's D, there's a Medicare Supplement plan. That's one pathway called Original Medicare. We love it. It's totally customizable. The beauty of it is we can change it through the aging process. But then there's another opportunity called a Medicare Advantage program. That's a different idea. This Original Medicare thing, that's where most people are going to start because it's what their parents did. It's what their friends do. They're comfortable with it. What we love about Original Medicare is you can see any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States. They take Medicare, you're in. That's a pretty large network. You don't need referrals. Pick up a drug program and a supplement. And initially, that supplement, that drug program, pretty innocent. As a female turning 65, you could probably do a wonderful drug program and a great supplement for less than $100 a month. That's terrific. But these prices aren't stable. These prices go up. Can you change the slide there so they can see? Oh, okay. I was just looking at that right there. So this pathway here, this A and B will remain steady, and we got to have A and B to do anything else. But the variable of the drug program and the supplement, that can change. That will go up. Those prices will increase. And it's not unusual that people will start to look for rate relief. And one of the ways that you could look for rate relief is to look at Medicare Advantage. We said that Original Medicare is not running $148.50 for the government. They're dropping north of $800 a month. On an Advantage program, the federal government will pay a private insurance company, and that private insurance company will step in and replace the whole thing. Now it's not 3 parts to your coverage, it's 1 part to your coverage. You still got to have A and B. Everybody always asks that. Yeah, you got to have A and B to do anything else. You've got to pay the $148.50 or more to be able to do an Advantage program. But the Advantage programs are growing in popularity because they really shout about lower premiums and special benefits. If you haven't heard the commercial, I'd be surprised. Get all the benefits you're entitled to. Okay, that's good. But what is Advantage? Well, first thing you want to know is it's controlled and supervised by the new sheriff in town, Medicare. And Medicare says, here's the rules of engagement. All of the Advantage programs are to some degree more restrictive because an Advantage program is managed care. If you're on this side of the equation, I got 38 different supplemental companies and 29 different drug programs. This has grown now to where we've got 52 different Advantage programs to choose from. It's pretty amazing. The growth in these things has been explosive. But understand, on this side of the equation, it's not any doctor, any hospital that takes Medicare. Now it's going to be more restrictive. In its original incarnation, about 15 years ago, all of these things were HMO. HMO is highly restrictive. That means you keep all of your medical visits within a medical group. That could be DuPage Medical Group or Advocate or Northwestern or Amita, but your Adventist doctor is only going to refer you to his derm, his endo, his gastro. That's what an HMO is, keeping everything within the same group. Well, that became so popular and such big business that they said, well, wait a second, we could actually do a PPO chassis as well. But anytime the company does something more, they're going to make it up someplace. Where the HMOs were screaming and jumping up and down about zero premium plans. You mean free? Absolutely not free, because one, you still got to pay your Medicare Part B, but also on the Advantage chassis, it combines network restrictions and co-payments for services. We saw with the supplements, F, no deductible, very expensive. G has a deductible, less expensive. N has a deductible and co-payments, even less expensive. High deductible G with a greater out-of-pocket, even less expensive. Then add network restrictions, and that's kind of what you're getting in the world of Advantage. All of them are going to have more restrictive networks, but the AARP network is different than the Blue Cross network, which is different than Humana and Cigna and all of them. We, generally speaking, can find your doctor in one of these networks. All of them are going to have co-payments for services, but the Aetna co-payments are different than the WellCare co-payments. All of those have to be looked at on a big picture basis to find where the value is. Is your doctor in network, or would you be willing to change? What do the co-payments look like? What we looked at is with original Medicare, remember, good, but not complete. Coverage, but unlimited exposure. One of the things that Advantage can do for you is it would at least put in a firewall, what we call capped exposure, worst case scenario. It all goes sideways. It stops somewhere. On an HMO, we have a out-of-pocket, one of the companies this year, the out-of-pocket maximum is $2,650. To me, that's a very innocent number. That's an out-of-pocket maximum. That's everything that you spend goes towards that out-of-pocket maximum. The PPOs, we can get you into a zero premium PPO with an out-of-pocket maximum of $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. You want more selection, we can do that, but then you have more exposure. It's always a trade-off. Nothing's free. What makes sense for your particular situation? They'll include the Part D drug prescription program bound up right in the chassis. For people who don't take any medications, that's kind of interesting. You mean I get creditable coverage on a zero premium plan? You could, you sure could. The computer that was asking about a med that changed. You always want to at least look at the Advantage programs, because one of the ways that they allure you into these packages is sometimes they've got sweeteners hidden in their drug programs. A couple of years back, there was one of the Advantage programs that for insulin, it was a zero copay. That was amazing. There were people who were spending a lot of money on insulin. And if they didn't know that there was an Advantage program that treated that so favorably, we moved a lot of people to Advantage simply because they were taking insulin. And this gave them a big break on what they were spending. And the Advantage programs are always available to us. One, when you start initially, you could come straight to the world of Advantage. Or two, every year they're available during the annual election period. And I will apologize in advance for an industry that is going to just berate you with commercials. It drives me absolutely crazy. I'm telling you right now, I'm reasonably certain Joe Namath does not have an Advantage program and Tom Selleck does not have a reverse mortgage. I'm just going out on a limb there, but these are spokesmen. These are advertisements. And when they talk about dental, vision, hearing, and more, tell me about the dental. Sometimes it's pretty thin. It's a benefit, but it's not dental insurance. One of the companies, literally, the vision benefit is that you get $50 off of lenses and frames once every 2 years. That's not really vision insurance, but they'll shout these things like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And these definitely have a place in the market. We definitely want to look at them. But remember, advertisements are exactly that. They're advertisements. Medicare likes this. They like it a lot. It's growing exponentially. When I started 15 years ago in the business, HMOs were the only thing. There were 6 of them. Now there's 52 Advantage programs to choose from. Now they've gone from HMO, you can get a PPO. They're very, very popular. The government loves it because they're spending less than they had intended to spend, and they turn you over to a private insurance company. All of your issues, all of your phone calls, all of your questions, all of your complaints, all go up through the Advantage platform. Now they're not answering the phone when you call. People get too cute by half. They go with Advantage, and they maybe find out that the doctor that they want to see isn't in network. No problem. I'll give them my Medicare card. No, you won't. Well, you'll give them your Medicare card, but you're going to get that bill back in about 6 weeks that says, no, 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 you're not with Medicare. You're with fill in the blank, Blue Cross, Humana, Aetna, AARP. In that world, what you've got is managed care. You're giving to get. You're agreeing to network restrictions and co-payments, but the payoff can be huge. It's a 0 premium plan. Medicare says, if you want to try this thing, what they'll do is they'll give you a 1-year trial right. They'll let you take it for a test drive. The first time you ever try an Advantage program, you've got 1 full year to see if it works. Kick the tires, drive it around the block. If it makes sense, what you've got is this will roll over automatically, and you will have gone through the first year. But anytime in that first year you decide you don't like it, we can bring you right back over to original Medicare. That's your trial right period. Anytime that first year, as of the first of any month, we could move you back over. But after that first year, it's going to roll over. And now here comes the Achilles heel. It's going to come right back over here. And the sales pitch, ladies and gentlemen, is that you try the Advantage program anytime in the first year you don't like it. After that first year, not to worry, every year we can move you back to original Medicare. That's a partial sentence. We can move you back to original Medicare. Guaranteed. Any doctor, any hospital takes Medicare. We can get you a drug program, anyone you want, guaranteed. No medical questions. But what about the supplement? The supplements now have the ability to ask you medical questions. They have the ability to decline your right to make a move. And it's very important when we do the Advantage idea, we want to understand everything about Advantage. You want to look with us on page 6 and page 7. Over here, every physical therapy visit is like $40. Well, that's not a problem. I'm never going to use physical therapy until you need physical therapy. But in a world where you're trading co-payments and network restrictions, over here, it's not unusual. Mom and dad took Medicare and a drug program when they were 65. It was totally reasonable. But by the time they get to 75, now between dad and mom, they're dropping close to $500 a month on those 2 supplements and those 2 drug programs. That's $6,000 a year, whether they go to the doctor or not. Well, they certainly didn't need F. They're overpaying for that. Maybe move to G, or you don't go to the doctor all that much. Maybe N could make a lot of sense. Or maybe now that you've seen how the bills are handled, maybe even the high deductible supplement could make sense. And we have the ability to move you. There's a company in Illinois that doesn't ask medical questions, gives us flexibility on the supplements. But maybe if you knew you were going to pay $6,000 and you don't go to the doctor all that much, maybe this Advantage thing could make sense. You're in a situation where if you take that $6,000 that you were going to spend and put it in a cookie jar, that's going to go a long way here. And that can be something that's worth investigating. Like I said, they grow in popularity. 15 years ago, this wasn't but 10% of the business. They're projecting now by 2030, this will be 50% of the market because people are looking for rate relief. And Joe Namath doesn't hurt. In this world of Medicare, what you want to know is that A and B is good, but not complete. You'd want to pick up additional coverage to be complete. That would be a supplement and a drug program on one pathway called Original Medicare. Or maybe this Advantage program can be of interest to you. And in that world, all of these options are on the table. What you want to know is that there's a lot of competition and there's a lot of ways to do this wrong. I run into people all the time. We'll get folks in their 70s or 80s that get referred to us because they're seeing their rates go through the roof. And when you sit down and you really analyze what they didn't make wise choices. That's a problem. At 65, you get inundated with mail and phone calls, and you wind up just doing something. That lady that we wrote today that was in tears when I spoke to her yesterday because she didn't really understand what she did. She thought she'd made all these mistakes. We calmed her down. But it turned out the guy that she was talking to in Florida on a telesales line put her into N. She's going to the doctor 8 times in the next 3 months. She doesn't need N. G is where she needs to be. She's got some major medical issues. And to be able to move her from the N to the G, you could just see her calming down on the Zoom call. You mean all I pay is $203 and then everything's covered? But everybody's situation's different. And that's why we would recommend you talk to a broker, somebody who represents everything, not just one company and not just one product. If you talk to somebody and the guy says, no, I don't do Advantage programs. Really? So you're not even representing what 50% of the market is using? Yeah, because they're very difficult. You've got to certify with every one of the Advantage programs. You've got to certify with every one of the drug programs. If you talk to somebody and all they're selling is supplements, that's not a broker. That's somebody who's just looking to skim the cream. You want to look at everything and understand it. That's what we do. We help you navigate this world of Medicare. There's no charge to you. The insurance companies pay us. There's no markup. It's exactly the same price, whether you go through us or an 800 number or a website. But in that world, I think we can shorten the learning curve. We can help you make smart choices and help you save money over the course of time. So now, Miss Computer, do you have any more questions? Do you
Sorry,
guys have any questions?
I just realized that was me. No, I don't, other than can we set up time with you guys to do a one-on-one, and how soon before we're ready to go on Medicare should I do that?
That's actually my sister, ladies and gentlemen. I have her call into every one of these things.
I'm the plant.
Yes, we would love to set up an appointment with you. We've got an office in Lisle. You're more than welcome to come there. We could do a Zoom meeting. I would say we would like, well, the best time to meet is anytime you feel your blood pressure going up. But you can't do anything more than 90 days out. You can't sign up for Medicare more than 90 days out. We can sure show you what the future looks like, but certainly 90 to 120 days would be perfect time to get together.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you.
Beautiful. No, thank you. Great question. Please.
So by 90 days out, you mean like your 65th birthday is 90 days ahead?
Yeah. They always go by the month. So it's the first day of the month in which you turn 65. Your birthday is June 23rd. Medicare calls you June 1. It's always the first month. And they wouldn't want to hear from you. There's 10,000 baby boomers a day turning 65. They wouldn't want to hear from you more than 3 months out. We can certainly show you what the future looks like. But if you call Social Security 4 months out and say, hey, I want to sign up, they're going to say, call us back in a month. So that's pretty much your window. But, we work with a lot of people, and you see it a lot with married couples on a group health insurance program. It's always worth taking a look when the spouse turns 65. Because most health insurance through an employer plan, you would just naturally think you pay $500 a month easy. That's $250 on her, $250 on me. No, usually you're working there. They love you. You're about a third of that number. The spouse is about 2/3 of that number. And if you're really paying $350 a month for your wife to be on your coverage when she turns 65, let's look here, because Part B and a drug program and a supplement, she'd be right around $250 a month. And you're going to take her network from being whatever it is to Medicare. You're going to take her out of pocket. On most employer plans, that out of pocket is $3,000 to $5,000. If it all goes wrong, you take that down to $203 and save money in the process. Most people aren't that investigative. I was very proud of that lady today that we rewrote, that she was even willing to revisit the topic. Most people get so flustered by the whole thing, they throw it in the kitchen drawer. They never look at it again. That's really a shame. If we had a full house here tonight, usually at these library settings, you'll get several couples that are smart enough to know they made a choice, but maybe we better investigate a little bit further. And it's always funny because when I start talking about that F as in Frank, that supplement, and I go, F is for foolish. And you always see the wife turn to the husband. Isn't that what we did? Shut up, honey. More questions? I always say, thank you so much. Oh, wait. There's our contact information, Mrs. Computer. If you want to get a hold of us, Megan's got the info. Great. She's already got that up there.
Okay.
We'd love to work with anybody that wants to work with us. Lori, questions?
Thank you. Well, I think one of the things to point out is all of those numbers that we had up on the PowerPoint change every year. Medicare changes that deductible, not a lot, but so, you know, on those television commercials, you'll hear about big changes to Medicare. The $203 deductible usually goes up about $5 a year. So that's not a really big change, but it's a change.
But it's a change.
That hospital, you know, out of pocket, that changes. The skilled nursing out of pocket, that changes. The 20% on Part B services, that's always been pretty static. All of your drug plan formularies, plans, premiums, those are all going to change every year. So change happens, but they're not huge. So
it's not as dramatic as they'd have you believe, because they want you to call. They want you to get a hold of their teleservice people. And, you know, as you approach 65, your phone rings off the hook. It's just, it's become comedic to me, the pitches that they use. These guys have their scripts. I'm from Medicare and I've been assigned to your account to help you enroll in Medicare. No, they haven't. They want to sell you a supplement or an Advantage program. You know, if you don't call us back, your Medicare is going to be canceled. I mean, all of these crazy things, and people buy into it. It's scary to me. I think there should be a separate circle of hell for telemarketers, just based on, and it's not going to be our circle of hell. We got the cool people on our circle, but in a world where they just prey on old people, it drives me crazy. And those ads on TV keep me away from sharp objects. I want to throw stuff at the TV set because it's so disingenuous. But in a world where you've got all the power in the relationship, it's good to use that power and make fully informed decisions. That's what we're all about. All right, you guys, I think that wraps it, Megan. Thank you very much. Anybody who's out there in computer land, appreciate you sitting in here tonight. You guys, thanks for showing up. I know it's 110 degrees outside and we're all wearing masks. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much, you guys.